What's up, YouTube? You checking out the Frequent Flyer, and this is my review of the Skytech M61 2.4 gigahertz quadcopter aerocraft. And this is the quadcopter here. Now, this quadcopter I stumbled upon by accident. Actually, I was looking at Skytech's coaxial helicopters. They have some really nice helicopters. Well, they appear to have some really nice coaxial helicopters anyway. I was looking at a video that Skytech has showcasing their coaxial helicopters, and their helicopters have a lot of neat attachments and modules that you can plug into these coaxial helicopters. Things like missile launchers, there's a camera, there's a bubble blower. I think, if I'm not mistaken, they have something that squirts water. There's a platform that can be dropped and lifted. So anyway, on this video that I was looking at of these coaxial helicopters by Skytech, I actually saw a quadcopter there, this thing. So I figured I'd take a chance and see what the quadcopter was like, because it looked pretty unique, you know. So when I got this thing, to my surprise, this thing is a very excellent flyer. I mean, this quadcopter is amazing, how well it flies. I mean, this thing flips. It executes flips really nice and tight. It's the best flipping quadcopter that I've seen. I know that sounds funny, but this quadcopter flips the best of all the quadcopters I've tested. It's really no effort for this thing to flip. It can execute flips one after the other. It hardly ever loses any altitude. Sometimes it actually gains altitude when it's doing flips. It has a lot of lift. This thing flies really hard. I mean, for the size, for a size comparison, let me show you. This is my Heliquad, my Blade Runner Heliquad 2.4. So it's not quite as large as that. And let me get another quadcopter out here to show you. This is it compared to the Yezon, so it's a little larger than the Yezon. It's actually about the same size as the JXD flying car. So I guess it's somewhere in the middle with the mini quadcopters. It comes in two colors. This is the red color, and it has these legs on it that can be removed, and the legs actually allow you to attach the missile launching module. It has plugs underneath on the board where you can plug the different modules to it, and the missiles can actually be launched from the transmitter. This button here, if you press this button here, it'll fire one missile. You press the bottom button and it'll fire all the missiles one after the other. The transmitter is one of those video game type transmitters. It's that video game style, which I'm not really a big fan of it, but this one works. It's not too bad. I use thumbs. I'm not a pincher, so it's pretty comfortable for me. The thumbsticks are rubberized, so they're really comfortable to me. It has these like shoulder buttons on the transmitter. On the right side, you press this. I believe it'll switch from high rates to low rates, high rates and low rates, and this side will executes the flips. You press this, and at the same time you press this, you push the direction you want the quad to execute the flip in, and it will flip in that direction. You know, what else? This it comes with one battery. The battery is, let me get the battery and see. Okay, this is the battery. It looks like 350 milliamp battery. I don't know if the camera's focusing on that, if you can see that. It has good flight times. This I've had about 7 to 8 minutes flight time, maybe even more with this thing. It flies really excellent outdoors. Indoors, this thing elevates fairly quickly, very quickly actually. It elevates too quick to really fly indoors. Well, that's my experience. It flies really nice, and it has a nice yaw rate where you can fly it indoors. It's fast enough to fly indoors, but the lift on this thing, I mean, it hardly even takes any throttle to get this thing jumping off the ground. And I've found that when I try to fly it indoors, I find myself hitting the ceiling or pulling the throttle down a lot, to, you know, moving up and down to try to avoid hitting the ceiling, because this thing it elevates too quick, in my opinion, to fly indoors. But outdoors, this thing is a blast. I mean, it's really fun to fly because it has so much power. I don't know if it really has, as far as lifting power, like lifting something really heavy, but I think because of the weight of this thing, it's not really that heavy. It being right in between the heli-quad size and the standard like Hubsan X4 size, you know, right in between, and then having these large fan pitched blades, it allows this thing, my alarm going off, it allows this thing to really have a lot of lift and elevate fairly quickly. So also with the legs and the missile attachment on, this thing still has no problem flying and maneuvering. It's a really good flyer. Let me see, what else is there to say about this thing. Oh, the LEDs. One thing I didn't like about it upon seeing it, this quadcopter don't have any LEDs on the arms, you know, or on the back, and it actually has two bright LEDs in the front, and they're actually really bright. They're like flashlights. I've noticed when I've flown this thing out at night once, well, a couple times, and the times that I did fly it at night, the LEDs in the front are really bright. They're like flashlights. I mean, I can be like 3 feet up in the air off the ground, and you can see like a spotlight on the ground as I'm flying this thing around. So that lets you know how bright these LEDs are in the front. So I had no problem flying this thing at night. You know, I can tell, being as though you can tell if the quad is facing you or if it's not facing you when it's far away. If that make any sense for you. When the quadcopter is flying away from me, I don't see any LEDs, but so I hit the yaw, and upon the lights facing me, I can tell that the craft is facing me, and I can react accordingly as far as the controls. What else? I think that's all there is to say about this quadcopter. Oh, I haven't been able to bind this thing to any of the other transmitters I have. So I don't know what protocol they're using for their transmitter. Let me see. I have a Cyma X2 actually, and the transmitter looks exactly the same as this one, but the protocols are still different. So that's all there is to say about this quadcopter. So I guess we're gonna go to the flight footage. Okay, I'm outside with the Skytech M61. We're gonna see how it flies. Starting out on high rates. This thing is really strong when it flies. It flies really strong. Let's see, show you the flips. This thing flips really good. I really like the way this thing flies outdoors. The other day I got this thing stuck up in the air in the tree, but it flies so hard and so strong that I was able to just push it out, giving it throttle. So I'm really impressed with the way this thing flies. I mean, it's like really light compared to how hard or how much lift it has. It takes nothing for this thing to get up in the air and flying. Let me see, let me land it for a second. Let's see how quick it can get some height. As you can see, this thing jumps off of the ground. And the yaw rate is pretty good. It's actually fast enough to fly it indoors, but it elevates so quickly that I'd rather not fly it indoors. I wouldn't recommend it. You'll be hitting the ceiling with this thing. You barely have to give it any throttle in order to keep it in the air. That's why it seems like I'm going up and down a lot. I think that's all there is to show about how this thing flies. It flips really well. It flips, actually this thing flips better than any other quad that I've flown. It's like it flips effortlessly. Really no effort for this thing to flip. Now the flight times are pretty good with this also. Let's see. Yeah, so the Skytech M61 is a really good flyer. I would recommend it for outdoor flying only though. See if I can bring it in for a landing. So there it is, the Skytech M61 Aerocraft. Thanks for watching.